2. Enhancing your skill set for a better livelihood. Now that you have built a clear understanding on how to apply for a job, you need to know your rights at the workplace. This module shall cover what exactly are the labor laws that protect you from being discriminated and exploited by your employer. Furthermore, if you feel like you're being taken advantage of, we have covered the issue of how to deal with harassment or exploitation issues and how to voice your concern and report it in a professional manner at work. Understanding your rights at work. The labor laws. Even before you start looking for work and apply for a job you want, you should be aware of what the laws are that protect you from discrimination and ill treatment. We have outlined some of the labor laws that are pertinent to the Philippines and are enforced by the Labor Code of the Philippines. If you would like to follow up more and read more about the labor laws in depth, then here is the link. Hours of work. You are legally allowed to work 8 hours a day, and this work hour period cannot be extended by law by an employer. You are allowed a lunch break, and the employer cannot give lunch break any shorter than 60 minutes at most. And if you work beyond 8 hours in the workday, you can get paid overtime, where additional compensation equivalent to regular wages is provided at least 25%. And work done beyond 8 hours on a rest day or holiday shall be paid in addition to the rate of first 8 hours plus at least 30% thereof. Weekly rest periods. Your employer, by law, needs to provide you with a rest period of not less than 24 hours after every 6 consecutive normal working days. You can be called to work on a rest day, but you shall be compensated for it, where you shall be paid an additional compensation of at least 30% of your regular wage. You are only entitled to such additional compensation for the work performed on a Sunday only when it's your established workday. Holidays, service incentive leaves, and service charges. You, as a worker, are entitled to be paid your regular wage during regular holidays, except in retail and service establishments that regularly employ less than 10 workers. If your employer requires an employee to work on any holiday, you as an employee shall be paid in compensation equivalent to twice your regular rate. Some of the holidays include New Year, Monday, Thursday, Good Friday, the 9th of April, the 1st of May, 12th of June, the 30th of November, 25th and 30th of December, and any other day designated by law for holding a general election. When looking at service charges, all service charges collected by hotels, restaurants, and similar establishments should disburse at 85% for all covered employees and 15% for management. The share will be equally distributed among employees. Minimum wages. The minimum wage rate for agriculture and non-agriculture employees. The Secretary of Labor and Employment shall regulate the payment of wages by result, including pacquiao, piecework, and other non-time work, to ensure the payment of fair and reasonable wage rate, which is done through time and motion results. Payment of wages. The payment of wages are the following. No employer can pay wages of an employee by means of promissory notes, vouchers, coupons, tokens, tickets, chits, or any other objects other than the legal tender. Payment of wages should be done in the form of checks or money orders. Wages should be paid at least once every 2 weeks or twice a month intervals that don't exceed 16 days. You should be paid near or at the place of work, and no other areas and wages are to be directly paid to workers when they are due. Prohibitions regarding wages. The labor law states that no employer can limit or interfere with the freedom of an employee in their usage of their wages. He cannot force or compel or oblige his employees to purchase merchandise, commodities, or any other properties from another person. Furthermore, an employer cannot deduct wages in his own behalf or in the behalf of another person. And it is unlawful to withhold any deduction from wages of any employee if it benefits the employer for keeping the person employed. Employment of women. The law states that no woman, regardless of her age, shall be employed or permitted to work overtime or do excess work with or without compensation. The facilities that should be provided for women are that your workplace should have proper seats where you can use the seats freely and work during working hours. There needs to be established separate toilet rooms for men and women. There needs to be a nursery in the workplace for the benefit of women employees. And lastly, there needs to be appropriate minimum age and other standards for retirement or termination special occupations such as those like flight attendants. Women who are pregnant are entitled for maternity leaves. This leave is administered to a woman employee who has an aggregate service of at least 6 months for the last 12 months and can have maternity leave of at least 2 weeks prior to the date of delivery and 4 weeks after normal delivery or abortion with full pay based on her regular wage weekly rates disclosed to her. She shall be paid a daily maternity benefit of her present basic salary, allowances and other benefits for 60 days if it is a normal delivery and 78 days if it is cesarean delivery. Employers may also require any woman employee asking for maternity leave to have proof of medical certification stating that the delivery will probably take place within the 2 weeks. Discrimination towards women is strictly prohibited based off a woman's sex. The acts of discriminations are the following. A woman cannot be paid lesser compensation in wages, salary, or any other remuneration and fringe benefits compared to her male counterpart. And an employer cannot favor a male employee over a female with respect to promotion, training opportunities, study and scholarship grants solely based off her sex. Employment of minors. The labor law states that no child below the age of 15 years shall be employed except if he is under the supervision and sole responsibility of his guardians or parents, and his employment does not interfere with his schooling. Any child between 15 to 18 years of age may be employed for such number of hours and selected few days as determined by the Department of Labor and Employment Regulations. And an employer cannot discriminate against any person in respect to their age. Employment of household helpers. If you are applying for a job as a household helper, here are the laws that are pertaining especially to you. The law states that employers' contract shall not last for more than 2 years, but it may be renewed by agreement of both parties. The new Kasambahay law already set the minimum wage of house helpers employed in Metro Manila at 2,500 a month, 2,000 in cities and first-class municipalities, and 1,500 pesos in other municipalities. If the household helper is under the age of 18, the employer should give him or her the opportunity of elementary education, and the cost of the education shall be part of the household helper's compensation. The treatment of household helpers should be in a humane manner, and there should be no act of violence used upon them. The employer needs to provide furniture, suitable sanitary living quarters, adequate food and medical attendance to the household helper, and upon completing work, the employer may keep the helper's records, and upon severance of the house helper, the employer must provide the helper with a written statement of the nature and duration of service and how they should conduct themselves. By the end of this module, You should know the right aptitudes that one must have for the workplace. You should have the tools to recognize how to handle the work calls without being rude or disruptive. Address your female colleagues correctly and know how to make an impression with a great handshake. And lastly, as a worker, you should have a clear understanding of what the labor laws and rights that you have and in what ways you are protected from discrimination and exploitation.